where our mains Edge 45 comes to their rescue. We have very limited time between prelims and mains. Very dedicated guidance, answer writing, continuous mentorship.
Good marks, good rank is equivalent to answer writing practice.
So it's like a proper lab, as the name itself says, where you can experiment, learn and excel.
So it's relevant, it's specific, it's well researched, and it's in a proper framework which you can use in answers.
And this is where mentoring plays a very important role. So that will be one aspect of mentoring where faculty will continuously engage with students who are enrolled.
The idea here is not to impart knowledge and content to you. If you people are writing mains examination, I'm dead sure that you people have already done that hard part. And we'll be covering them from the perspective of what questions UPSC has asked and what it can possibly ask related to those particular schemes or themes in the coming years.
Your preparation may look complete, but UPSC Prelims 2026 showed something important. Completion is not the same as readiness. The paper did not just test whether aspirant had read a topic, it tested whether they could think through it. Could they eliminate smartly? Could they connect static concepts with current issues? Could they stay calm when the question was not direct? Could they take decisions under pressure? That is where many aspirants struggle, not because they did not study, but because their preparation stayed in input mode, reading more, collecting more, revising passively. UPSC needs more than that. It needs a preparation system that turns knowledge into judgment. That is what the VisionIAS Delhi GS Foundation course is built for. Concepts are taught in a connected sequence. Current affairs is linked with static subjects. Tests help you identify gaps before the exam does. Answer writing builds structured thinking for mains. Mentorship helps correct your direction early. Build readiness from the beginning. VisionIAS Delhi GS Foundation course.
Okay, so good evening class. Today we'll discuss about the strategy to read economy, that is how exactly to approach the exam. And this becomes all the more critical given what the prelims was, how many people thought it was absurd paper or it was something which was out of expectations, whatever we had prepared for. The idea of this class or this session is to set the expectation right. Okay, what exactly we have to do and what exactly we have to prepare, and then once we prepare, what exactly is the practice which we have to do. That means understanding the exam, preparing a strategy according to what the understanding of the exam is, and then trying to execute it and see where exactly you are, the strategy is working out and where it is not working out. That is the third layer of practice. Now I've done these sessions approximately 500 times I think in the last 5 years. But the problem is, when we start, everybody will accept yes, but once they start it, within one month or two, they start digressing. And once they start digressing, they form different strategies, the understanding of the exam is lost, understanding is lost, the paper is not getting solved, test papers are becoming difficult, so you stop dropping certain test papers, you start with other test papers. So somewhere we try to form a strategy where we feel comfortable, and when we try forming certain habits, strategies where we are comfortable, we are moving away from the exam. So जब prelims आता है, this is where you feel कि what exactly happened to us. The surprise element happened because you were not ready to put in whatever was required for the exam, because the strategy was framed according to the own comfort and convenience. And obviously this was reinforced by a lot of information that now we have in the market. There's so many people talking about so many things कि exam ये है, हमारे ये ऐसे करना होता है, वैसे करना होता है. So that means it's not just कि I am looking for a strategy which works for me where I'm comfortable. I am also reinforcing myself because there's a lot of information in the market. तो जो confirmation bias है कि हाँ हमारी बात ही सही है, उसी प्रकार का हमने एक information देख ली YouTube पे, Telegram पे. Yes, see, he is also saying it, she is also saying it. So that means our strategy is correct. And when you form this loop where you don't get a feedback whether you are going in the right direction or not, this is what will give you a surprise in the exam. So now when I talk about this strategy, we have been talking about this thing, I think in the last 5 years, we've been consistent with this message, and I'll reinforce the message again. But this time I'm going to break it into very small, finer parts so that you understand what to do and what not to do, and the clarity with respect to those smaller aspects are clear. Till these strategy sessions, the last few sessions which I've done, I was expecting, or the expectation was, you would know something about it. So if I guide a bit, I tell you the topics, you would be able to draw the dimensions. I tell you the topics, you'll know how to prepare for it. But now I realize it's the time to tell you each and every finer aspect and break it and break down into such small, finer elements that it is understandable, and then you have the right strategy based on this particular understanding. So what exactly the exam is about? The first and the foremost, and I'll be talking in general aspect and also the aspect of economics. The exam is testing 5 different skills, and all of these skills are interconnected. ये general में भी बात true है, and economics के लिए तो specifically. I'll show you with examples for economics and tell you how layer by layer you have to proceed, and how this story building for preparation specifically for economics is going to take roughly 3 to 4 months. In fact, if we do 60-65 classes, if I do class on a daily basis, then also it's taking 60-65 classes. So 2 months, roughly 2.5 months is what is going to complete the basics, which is the starting point. You need time for revision, 1.5 months. That means you'll be prepared to attempt certain things. You'll be prepared to do it on your own self once you have that structured preparation for 2 to 3 months, specifically for one subject, which I'm talking about here is economics. Similar thing goes for other subjects also. The idea being, the exam is not easy. The exam, the nature of the exam, nature of the questions is quite different from what exactly the exam environment we know of. Whatever we prepare, how we prepare, what books we read, what we read material, we go to the internet. This exam is completely different. This is why, depending on how I start and where I start from, the strategy has to be framed based on what the exam is asking. The strategy is not like a general exam which this country has. Whatever exams which we have, they are very much basic because everything is almost defined. Nobody is asking you to apply your mind. Nobody is asking you to test any particular understanding skill. Majority of the exams, in fact all of the exams, are confined to particular domains. So agar Dada Saab Phalke award पूछना कौन जीता, तो these questions would be that nature of the exam, that they're completely asking factual things where the examiner knows he can't go wrong. Here this is not true. The examiner will frame dubious statements, will try to test your understanding. The question formation will be done according to the depth of understanding of a particular topic. So we are moving away from factual things to more application-based, understanding-based exam. And this is where, no matter how many exams you have cleared in this country, starting from very basic of IT, JEE to NEET to any particular competitive exam, you are going to get a completely different play field here. You have been playing cricket, this is a different sport. Just because you are an athlete doesn't mean your success in one sport will translate into success in another sport. You can very well fail at that, and this exam is a completely ball game altogether, which would require first knowing what the exam is, then only the strategy happens. Since in the initial days the motivation level is quite high, we just want to jump onto the books which is required, and since we are compensating for whatever sincerity we have been lacking, हम बचपन से नहीं पढ़े, कॉलेज में नहीं पढ़े, तो अब लगता है कि अब अच्छे से पढ़ेंगे, तो just give me the first book which is required and I'm going to do it very well. So when you are eager to start preparing without a particular understanding of the exam, you will never form the right habits, you will never have the right strategy, and you will consistently start failing. Just because I saw a particular cricketer hitting 3 sixes in an over, I also want to practice and I also want to become a cricketer. So first goal would not be hitting 3 sixes in an over. This is not my target. This I would achieve depending on the game situation, depending on how good a skill I have as a cricketer, post 6 months, post 1 year, post 2 years. This is not the starting goal. I have to first understand the rules of the game. I have to first understand what skills I need. Then I will form the habits to form that. So that means the 3 things which I require is first knowing what exactly are the rules of this game. what are the questions which they are going to ask. The second is, I want to know what exactly is the skill required for it. And third, I have to form a habit of practicing this skill. Then only I have a chance to achieve something in this exam. That means you just can't switch from one particular examination environment to another examination environment thinking that the same thing also applies here. Just because I have been very good at academics since my childhood, I can replicate the success of my childhood exams or whatever exams in college or whatever personality you've developed and won so many competitions here. Not going to happen. This exam can humble you very quick. You have to be prepared for all such type of eventualities, and for that you first need a clear-cut idea of what the rules of the game are, what are the skills that are required, and what habits do I form in order to execute this skill, which will then help me get the selection. Trust me, 90% of the failure in this exam happens on the day one itself, because somehow, because of whatever, we are in a particular environment where we have too much information and we also want a quick solution. Quick solution, too much information, that means I am only going to look for what I actually want, what I am comfortable or convenient with. तो failure उसी दिन decide हो चुका है. वो तो बस अब हर साल attempt में दिखेगा, but that's already done in the first week. So how do I escape that particular strategy, or how do I not fall into that particular patterns, is first I need to be clear on these three things. And this is what I'm going to talk about in this whole session. What are the rules? What is the skill? And what habits do you need to form in order to clear this exam or have a chance to clear it? Why? Because these three things, the habit is something which has to be executed on a daily basis for roughly 12 to 24 months. Then you stand a chance to reach here. What we need is this selection. We forget this. So the automatically what you selection ke liye, just tell me the book, tell me the source, and I'll somehow manage to solve this paper. Not going to happen. Exam is unique because the job is unique. Also, the exam will never be easy. I'll tell you one more reason or logic for this. The exam will never be easy because you are getting a job for 40 years. I am giving you an option. I am taking an exam, or UPSC is taking an exam. They are doing it at the age of 21, and there's very less chance that you would be removed from your job in the next 40 years. And you are expecting that the paper would be easy and someone would give you a career job, making you the head of a district, a leadership position over 10 lakh people, easy exam with no chance of removal. Easy exam to aap tab expect kar sakte ho na, when the person who's hiring you can also remove you within 1 year. So if the person does not have the chance to remove you and he's selecting you for a very exclusive position, it has to be a difficult exam. It cannot be easy. That means that difficulty level does not lie on what type of questions. The difficulty level lies on this. This is what exactly has to be understood in its entirety. This is something which is missing, because again, I need a quick fix solution. I will look for the information which will give me that easy shortcut to help clear it. तो लोगों को बनना सबको होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में IAS ऑफिसर है. They want single digit ranks, but they want it with the easiest way possible, where they have to put in some effort, but not a lot of effort, so that some effort also they want it to be 100% sure कि यही होगा. So all of this confusion, all of this shortcut, all of this quick fix solution, all of the whatever the solutions are, strategies are presented, they are not in that context of the exam. This is why they'll always fail. This is why I said 90% का पहले दिन ही failure तय है, because they don't have the patience for it. And the patience is not just about this exam. The patience, the idea is also in general. 5 years back, 3 years back, what kind of people were coming to prepare for this exam, what mindset they had, and what mindset they have today has completely changed, because your conditioning also has changed. Whether it is coming from social media, it is coming from too much exposure of different types of information, all of these things are taking you towards a place where you demand quick fix solution. जब 10 मिनट में groceries की ही expectation बन गई कि हमें दाल आटा चावल ही 10 मिनट में चाहिए, नीड किसी को नहीं है, बट अब चाहिए 10 मिनट में क्योंकि मार्केट ने एक सप्लाई प्रोडक्ट बना दिया. तो जब हर जगह ही इतनी जल्दी आपको कुछ मिल रहा है, तो आपको वो जल्दी यहां भी चाहिए. बट दिस इज नॉट गोइंग टू हैपन. So how exactly do we go about it? First, what exactly is the skill required? Now, rules of the game you know pretty well. The rules of the game, there is a qualifying exam, marks don't add. There is a subjective 9-paper exam where the marks will decide your fate, and then there's an interview, which is the easiest part of this exam. 275 marks. You don't have to prepare anything there. It's your own life which you have to present. It has to be presentable. This is what you need to prepare for, which hardly takes 15-20 days. You just polish whatever personality you have. You just need to know what are the do's and what are the don'ts. Easiest exercise, the most enjoyable part of this exam is coming for the interview. What is difficult, where it becomes tricky, is these two parts of prelims and mains. Now I know broadly everybody has an idea what the rules of the game are. Once the rules of the game are clear, qualifying exam first, subjective 9-paper second, and the interview stage where you just have to present yourself for 20-25 minutes, and trust me, they're not looking for personalities which are already achieved a lot. They're just looking for a personality which is true to whatever they have written in the DAF. So there is no particular extra marks for showing that हम school में बहुत brilliant थे, हम college में बहुत brilliant थे. आप school में brilliant नहीं थे, आप college में brilliant नहीं थे, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. एक honest personality चाहिए, वो honest personality को वो उसके present करना है बस. That's it. Nobody is judging your achievements. Had it been about achievements, they would have directly shortlisted from DAF. They would not have called you for the interview. If they're calling for the interview, they just want to see the person who has scored something in mains. Is he presentable enough? That is he honest to whatever he is saying? Does he have integrity or not? Can he communicate or not? So very basic skills are being tested, and this is why you see the marks also don't have a lot of variation. Marks would be 170, marks would be 150. You have a bad day, it goes to less than 150. You have a beautiful day, सब कुछ अपने हिसाब से हो गया, तो you get more than 180. Because the nature of questions itself is not too huge in this. What is it is prelims and mains. Now second, what exactly is the skill level required, and where exactly and how exactly they are linked. The first thing here is, it's a general exam which also has an optional in the mains paper. But majority of the exam is catering to general studies. I'll talk specifically about economics now. In general studies, what do I need in order to score better in economics? Because all of the subjects here are non-negotiables. You can't just be that I don't like economics, I'll score less in economics, I'll still clear. No, without any of the, you can't leave any of the subjects. Because as the GS papers have been planned in mains, as the GS distribution goes in prelims, you don't have the scope for leaving one or two subjects. You have the scope for just how much depth you go there, but you don't have a scope of leaving any subject. Forget economics, this is something completely non-negotiable because it carries significant weightage of 15 to 20% in prelims, and it carries in GS3, it has roughly 50 to 60% of the paper. That means this part is so huge that you just can't miss it. Now what exactly do I need? The first thing, and this is where the NCERTs also apply, and this is a problem with economics first. Problem with economics is that economics is not at all familiar. I don't know the terms. I've heard about parliament, I've heard about constitution, I've heard about monsoons, I've heard about mountains, I've heard about society, family, but I've not heard a lot about interest rates. I've not heard a lot about fiscal deficit. I've not heard a lot about balance of payment issues. So the first thing that is important, and the skill which will require some time, is you have to get familiar with the concept. When I say familiar with the concept, these words, these vocabulary have to be in your daily parlance so that you know a little bit what is being talked about. आपको आता तो constitution भी पूरा नहीं है, you don't have an idea about what the parliament does, but you are still familiar with the topic. This is what makes it easier for you to understand it. But here the familiarity is itself missing, so the understanding itself will be jittery. Because interest rate, fiscal deficit, production, consumption, GDP, they're not so commonly used as the other terms are. So how do I then become familiar with the terms? Familiarity will come when I first read the NCERTs, so that I have some idea about what these terminology, what is the vocabulary that is of this subject. You start with the most basic class 6 to class 10th. I'm not talking about the technical ones which have been written for class 11, 12th. You just read the basics so that these terms come into use on a daily basis. Again, this is just getting used to the terms. This is not framing and understanding of the term. Because once I get used to it, then is the second step of what I will do is the understanding part. जब interest rate बहुत बार पढ़ लिया है, बार बार reference आ रहा है, fiscal deficit बार बार reference आ रहा है. Now, how exactly fiscal deficit works, what is fiscal deficit, what is its impact, this is something which will be easier to retain, easier to understand. So the first step here is that I go through the NCERTs of class 6 to 10th and I get familiar with the terms. I don't have to do anything else. हम सिर्फ पढ़ रहे हैं, हमें पता होना चाहिए क्या है. हम क्रिकेट खेलना चाहते हैं, I want to play for the Indian cricket team. I should know what a bat and ball is. How does the bat and ball work? How do I bowl fast? How do I hit better shots? Will happen later. अभी सिर्फ क्या रूल्स हैं कि एक बॉल होती है, एक बैट होता है, एक फील्ड लगता है, 11 प्लेयर होते हैं. ये बेसिक चीजों से फेमिलियर होना है. दिस इज द फर्स्ट पार्ट विच इज रिक्वायर्ड. Now second part is what the understanding is, and I'll tell you how exactly these are interconnected. I'll show you with examples the interconnections also between the three. The second part is once I know what the basic terms are, I have to build a foundation where I'm not just looking to mug up things, where I'm not learning things, I am actually engaging with the content so that I understand what is happening. This is the most important thing. Without having an understanding, no matter what books you read in economics, whatever factors of production you learn, whatever interest rate, fiscal deficit की आप definition याद कर लो, उससे कोई question solve नहीं होगा. This is where the switching of the pattern happens. Earlier exams, learning the definitions was helping me solve everything. Now, learning the definition is just the first step. Even it's not the first step, because if I can't apply it, if I don't understand it, it's not even the first step. That means you know so many things in terms of what the definitions are, you know so many things in terms of various facts, but you don't know what the fact was existing for. ना आपके पास context है, ना आपको पता है relevance क्या है, वो आप क्वेश्चन उसका सॉल्व ही नहीं कर पाओगे. एंड शो यू विद द एग्जांपल ऑफ दिस ईयर प्रीलिम्स ओनली दैट द फर्स्ट स्टेप इज नॉट दिस. द फर्स्ट स्टेप इज टू फॉर्म एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग which you can say is forming the base or is forming the foundation. This is just the skills I'm talking about. I'll show you the how exactly the skills are applied also. The third skill is once I know the foundation, I have the base, I know interest rates work, how I know how fiscal deficit work, I know what is balance of payment, then I have to apply this foundation in the context of Indian economy and in the context of global economy. And this is why this exam is special. Because this exam will test your understanding by giving you certain real life cases where you'll have to apply your knowledge. For example, if I know what the idea of interest rate is, UPSC in 2023 framed a question, whenever there is inflation in the market, central banks increase interest rate because they believe it will control inflation. After pandemic, a lot of central banks had increased their interest rates. So that means if I understand the concept of inflation and interest rates, they are checking whether I can apply that knowledge, whatever I've understood, in real life context or not. And this is where the preparation or the strategy does not reach in entirety of its preparation. This stage of preparation is missing. This is why I said 90% पहले दिन ही fail कर गए हैं, because this particular concept they don't know. What they want to know is they are only stuck in familiarity and understanding, and just because they're not familiar, the effort which they take to get familiar with the concept and the effort which they try to memorize the concept is so huge. I am exhausted beyond these two steps. And when I'm exhausted beyond these two steps, I don't have that mental capacity to apply myself. I don't have the mental capacity to analyze anything, because somehow analysis and evaluation is what I think is important for mains and not important for prelims. तो हम ये थर्ड और फोर्थ स्टेज कंप्लीटली मिस कर जाते हैं. इसी में पूरा टाइम लगा, इसी में पूरा एफर्ट लगाया, and I'm so exhausted that I now have to tell people that my economics is complete. So when I am familiar and when I've done the rote memory, I've learned few things, I feel that I am comfortable with economics. And then I will try to find MCQs which only test my rote memory skill and comfortably believe that this is the exam. जहां से मुश्किल पेपर आया, जहां से मुश्किल प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन पूछे, वहीं पे हम बोल देंगे क्वेश्चन सेटर खराब है, प्रैक्टिस पेपर खराब है. हमारी तैयारी बेस्ट है। ये सेम बात आप एक यूपीएससी को नहीं बोल सकते हो। You can definitely say it, but it will not change anything for anyone. So better than saying what is good or what is bad, I should know what the right expectation is, and I should understand my strategy is revolving around these two things, but the paper is revolving here. So the gap is so huge, I will never be able to transition from 2 to 3 because I don't have that mental capacity to understand कि एग्जाम क्या है। मेरी मेंटल कैपेसिटी के हिसाब से तो आपने मुझे फिस्कल डेफिसिट बता दिया, आपने इंटरेस्ट रेट बता दिया, तो अगर पेपर में पूछ लोगे कि व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ फिस्कल डेफिसिट, तो आई विल गेट मार्क्स। अगर पूछ लोगे कि फिस्कल डेफिसिट चेंज हुआ तो क्या इंपैक्ट आएगा, नाउ आई एम फेसिंग अ प्रॉब्लम। व्हाट इज द फिस्कल डेफिसिट ट्रेंड ऑफ इंडिया, नाउ आई हैव अनदर प्रॉब्लम। दीज टू प्रॉब्लम्स आई फेस, I take on the challenge, I change myself, I have a chance. I don't take on the challenge, I will fail. So application part is where the exam lies. Understanding and the familiarity is, just the start. It's the start which is going to go to another level, but it's not the only thing in the exam. You have to believe first के पहले ABCD सीखा, words formation सीखा, तो ही sentence लिख पाओगे। लिखना sentence है। Just because I know A for apple doesn't mean I am going to write in the sentence that A is for apple. The sentence obviously have to have some words created with A. Those words will then form a sentence. How many sentences you can form is where the exam lies. How many sentences in a particular context is where the exam is. Knowing A is for apple, knowing how to write some words with apple is not going to help me clear the exam because A for apple याद कर लिया है। ए फॉर और वर्ड्स भी नहीं आ रहे हैं। तो जब मेरे पेपर ने मुझसे सेंटेंस लिखने को बोला तो वो तो मेरे को आता ही नहीं है। मुझे तो ए फॉर एप्पल बताया था, अब ए फॉर एप्पल मेरे से कितनी बार बुलवा लो। उसमें ही हमारी इतनी मेहनत लग गई थी क्योंकि जस्ट लाइक ए फॉर एप्पल इज न्यू फॉर द किड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, दिस इज व्हाई दे कांट थिंक बियॉन्ड द एप्पल। सिमिलरली फिस्कल डेफिसिट इज द एप्पल फॉर यू बिकॉज यू हैव नॉट heard about the fiscal deficit before. GDP, growth, development, trade, international institutions, these are all new for you. So just like A for apple is new for the child, fiscal deficit is new for you. The child keeps on believing that A for apple is its entire world, the paper is A for apple. You also come under this impression that my paper is fiscal deficit. This is where the exam will not give you anything. वहां तो उनका लर्निंग आउटकम फिर भी कम हो रहा है हर साल, वो उनको समझ आएगा 20 साल में। What the education system did to you, you will only get to know when you reach a particular age. You will never know how exactly these small gaps is what led to a huge gap when you reach the age of 21. वो स्किल गैप दिखता है जब इंटरव्यूअर क्वेश्चन पूछता है जॉब में, उससे पहले तो कुछ पता ही नहीं चलेगा बिकॉज द एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज डिजाइन्ड इन सच अ मैनर दैट द क्लोज्ड लूप विल ऑलवेज मेक यू बिलीव यही है, ए फॉर एप्पल ही दुनिया है। ये नहीं है वो दुनिया में। जब स्टेप आउट करते हो, जब कॉलेज में इंटरव्यू देने जाओगे तब समझ आएगी ये बात। सिमिलरली प्रीलिम्स जब देने आओगे तो यहां वो बात समझ आएगी। This is why to prevent that shock or the surprise element, we should know that we are being asked to frame sentences. I only know some words on some alphabets. This some words on some alphabet strategy is not going to work. इसीलिए जो मैराथन होती है, जो भी वीडियोस और जो भी कंटेंट मिलता है वो इन दोनों का मिलेगा सिर्फ, वो यहां तक आपको नहीं ले जाना चाह रहा है, इसीलिए फिर सरप्राइज होता है बाद में। अगर वो यहां पे ले आया तो आपको लगेगा मेरी तैयारी तो हुई नहीं है तो मैं ये कैसे करूं, तो वो एक सर्कल में ही आपको रखेगा। What I'm trying to tell you is, this is where I'll show you this with examples. This is where the exam lies. It's the application front, where whatever I have understood in Indian economy and global economy, can I apply those concepts or not? When I say Indian economy and global economy, this is where I am linking concepts with facts. I have understood concepts. UPSC if will ask a question on concept, I'll show you what concept is. If the UPSC is going to ask me a fact-based question which is driven from the concept, I should be prepared on both. There is no separate concept, there is no separate fact. The concept and fact are together because this is a story where the fact is driven by the concept. कोई भी चीज वैक्यूम में नहीं होती। हर फैक्ट की एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट की एक कंसेप्चुअल स्टोरी है, तो वो कॉन्सेप्ट और फैक्ट उस स्टोरी में इकट्ठे होते हैं। हम डिफरेंशिएट कर रहे हैं doesn't mean the exam will going to differentiate that. This is why the preparation has to be in its entirety a combination of understanding and application. Now coming to the next, where the exam slightly changes direction. I have the understanding, I can write sentences. Now, once I can write sentences, I now need to provide a story. That means I now have to write paragraphs. This is where the exam will turn into analysis and evaluation. You will have to provide reasons, you will have to provide judgments, you will have to provide opinions. The mains exam is entirely different from prelims in terms of nature of questions. Preparation is not different. Preparation linked hai. Nature of question farak hai. So if I'm asking you a combination of concept or fact, which I'm asking here, understanding and application I'm testing in prelims, I am now testing whether you can analyze why it is happening. Concept and fact, understanding and application told me what is happening. The analysis and evaluation tells me why it is happening, how is it happening like that, and what else can happen, what should have happened. जो should का concept है ना कि क्या हो सकता है और suggestive, opinion, perspective is what is my domain of mains. This opinion, perspective, judgment is not part of prelims. That is only what is happening, a concept and a fact story. This concept and fact story is now to be tested. अब उसके ऊपर question उठेंगे, ये ऐसा कैसे है, ये कैसे better हो सकता है. So if I don't have 2 and 3, जब मुझे what ही नहीं पता, तो मैं analyze तो कुछ नहीं कर सकता. So if I don't have the words, I don't have sentences, forget writing paragraphs. That's simple as that. So if I'm building a skill, it has to be interlinked. पहले तो मेरी daily parlance में वो words होने चाहिए. मुझे पता होना चाहिए वो word है क्या. फिर मैं उस word को apply कर रहा हूं और अब उस application पे एक judgment दे रहा हूं. All the 4 will be linked. Then only you will write the expression part where writing has to come. Writing is never in a vacuum. Writing answers does not happen without any context. Writing will first demand these 4 skills and then only you will have a perspective where you can express yourself. Without understanding, without knowing application, without knowing the analysis, there is no writing which you can do. So randomly one answers हम लिख दें क्योंकि हमें कुछ पता है किस चीज के बारे में, it's never going to help. It's a proper skill that happens somewhere around 6 to 8 months, can take roughly 1 year. Writing तो बिल्कुल 1 साल से पहले आएगी नहीं, because इन तीनों में इतना टाइम लग जाएगा, because you're not doing just one subject, you're doing multiple subjects at the same time, that you have to have the patience that though writing is the last step, same. Just because a 14-year-old is hitting 6s, you believe I should also hit 6s. Hitting 6 will happen last. पहले बैट पकड़ना आना पड़ेगा, पहले शॉट मारना आना पड़ेगा, पहले कैसी शॉट किस बॉल पे मारी जाती है वो आना पड़ेगा. उसके बाद फिर डिसाइड हो सकता है कि 6 लगेंगे नहीं लगेंगे. पहले दिन तो कभी भी नहीं लगेगा, and it is going to take a lot of time, so you have to wait for it. Because at the end of the day, my understanding, application, analysis, evaluation only is front of the examiner through my answer. So my clarity of thought goes through the expression, and this clarity of thought will only come in the expression when the clarity will exist in the thought first. If the thought does not have the clarity, it is not familiar to you, you don't understand it, you can't apply it, you can't analyze it, you won't be able to write it. So the clarity in thought is the important part. Once clarity in thought comes in, the expression of that thought will be easy. Clarity लाने के लिए ये 3 skill बनाने जरूरी है. I'll show you with examples how exactly to do that. So once I've understood the rules of the game, I know what skills I have to work towards. Trust me, without these skills, without having the habit to produce this skill consistently, you are nowhere close to the exam. 40 साल की कोई नौकरी दे रहा है लीडरशिप पोजीशन पे, वो ऐसे नहीं मिलेगी. उसके लिए कुछ ना कुछ तो स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ पर्सनालिटी, स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ कैरेक्टर चाहिए होगा. वो स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ कैरेक्टर हैबिट से आता है. स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ कैरेक्टर इज नॉट बिल्ट इन अ डे, इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट्स इन अ पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन. इट्स नॉट एफर्ट्स इन एनी डायरेक्शन, बिकॉज हम जब फिजिकल डेफिसिट याद कर रहे हैं वो भी हमारा एक एफर्ट ही है, बट वो एफर्ट रिजल्ट नहीं देगा. दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू कम्युनिकेट थ्रू दिस. I hope it makes sense what exactly we're trying to do. I'll show you with examples also. Now once this is done, I have some idea what the exam is testing and how exactly I need to proceed with this. The second is, what should be the topics on which this has to be done. So once I have developed, or once I know what the skills are, these skills have to be developed on a particular content matter, have to be developed on a particular subject matter. So अब किस स्किल ये जो बनाना है अंडरस्टैंडिंग का या बनाना है एनालिसिस करना है, किस चीज का अंडरस्टैंडिंग, किस चीज का एनालिसिस. सो फॉर इकोनॉमिक्स और फॉर एनी सब्जेक्ट फॉर दैट मैटर, दिस सब्जेक्ट और कंटेंट मैटर comes from the PYQs for prelims and comes from the syllabus in mains. अब यहीं से हम कहानी स्टार्ट करते हैं स्ट्रैटेजी की, because somewhere we believe कि people understand के कैसे करना है, but now I'm going to go into much finer details and elements कि क्या करना है. Sorry. Now, how do I know what the content or subject matter is? I will have to find out that particular topic of list from the PYQs. The syllabus in mains tells me the broader direction, but again the PYQs in mains is going to take me to the finer details of what they are going to ask. So on what this skill has to be prepared, what is the content I need preparation over, is something I will derive from the PYQs. So if you see, I know the rules of the game, but these rules are coming from the synthesis of PYQs. मतलब इस एग्जाम में सिर्फ नेचर ही अलग नहीं है कि क्या डेवलप करना है, इस एग्जाम का सिलेबस भी डिकोड करना है. ये अपने आप में एक चैलेंज है. That I have to not just change my preparation strategies, I also have to know what type of content needs preparation. तो अभी पढ़ने से पहले ही दो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी है. पहली प्रॉब्लम के पढ़ना कैसे है, दूसरी प्रॉब्लम के पढ़ना क्या है. Until and unless you solve these two problems, you can't start reading. That means I can't execute any strategy without knowing these two things. One thing I made you clear what the skills are. The second thing I'm going to give you information now is what content. For content, I have the centrality of previous year questions. Now, previous year questions का मतलब क्या है, ये भी अब important है, because somehow in the last year and also before that, I've seen people again and again solving PYQs. I've seen people framing statements from PYQ कि अगर ये question ऐसे आता तो इसका आंसर बताओ. तो हम PYQ को ही solve कर रहे हैं, PYQ से hypothetical question बना रहे हैं और उन्हीं को फिर solve करते हो अपने दिमाग में एक picture बना ली है. The relevance of PYQs is only one to decide what topics to be read, which topic list, and from which topic list what dimensions to be prepared. That means PYQ relevance is what to read and how much to read. That is it. PYQ की कहानी प्रिपरेशन के पहले मंथ में खत्म हो जानी चाहिए. You don't need PYQs beyond the first month of preparation, because PYQs only tell me what to read and how much to read, nothing beyond that. I can't solve and consider myself comfortable solving PYQs gives nothing. मैं कितना कॉन्फिडेंट फील कर लूं कि हमारे प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस हमने सारे सॉल्व कर लिए, इतने हो गए, इससे कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा. Because the next question is going to be a new question which will test your application of what you have understood. सेम चीज पढ़ के वो सेम चीज सॉल्व करने का आपके मार्क्स कभी भी नहीं आएंगे, क्योंकि क्वेश्चन हमेशा नहीं होगा. That means beyond what to read and how much to read, there is absolutely no relevance of previous year questions. That means the maximum relevance is for the first 2 months, where I get to draw the topic list and I get to draw the dimension list. उसके बाद PYQ क्या होता तो क्या होता, ये कुछ नहीं करना. सॉल्व भी उसको एक बार कर लिया, दैट्स इट. वो सॉल्व भी ज्यादा नहीं कुछ देगा, क्योंकि वो क्वेश्चन दोबारा सेम आना ही नहीं है. तो क्या 2023 में जो पूछा था मैं दोबारा वो उसको याद करके सोचूं कि 26-27 में वही आएगा, ऐसा कभी भी नहीं होगा. This is where I told you understanding has to be applied, and any test which is application based, where the examiner is testing your both understanding and application, knowing what was previous is just helping me know what they can ask further, but not doing the same question over and over. That means attempting PYQs again and again is no real outcome, no solution whatsoever. Only thing I need to know is कि this is the first step and not the last. यही वो है कि पहले 2 महीने में इसकी कहानी खत्म हो जानी चाहिए. मेंस में there is still slight more relevance कि let me practice writing on it. Otherwise also there is no relevance there also. Relevance of PYQ and prelims and mains is only topic list and dimension list. That is it. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to solve it multiple times. There is absolutely no outcome in solving PYQs. This is why I said it's the first step, not the last. This determines what to read and how much to read. This will not determine that I will only solve PYQs और इसके बेस पे मेरा next question हो जाएगा. ये नहीं होगा कभी भी, ना prelims में ना mains में. This is the starting point. Now when I need to know what is the topic list and dimension list, what those topics are specifically for economics. This is where the economics paper works. There are two sections specifically for economics. First is the base. I told you, you have to develop the understanding part. हमें समझना है हो क्या रहा है. Now when I say when I have to understand what is happening, these topics have been driven from PYQs only. इसके dimensions also I'll give you. So the topics and dimensions is the first step. That means I am learning two things. I am getting familiar if I have the NCERT base. Second, I am now trying to understand what is happening in a particular context. हम उसको समझ रहे हैं कि चीजें होती कैसे हैं. चीजें होती कैसे हैं वो क्वेश्चन जरूरी नहीं है आएगा. That means if I have to write sentences, these are just words. इन चीजों को अप्लाई करना है. अंडरस्टैंडिंग पहला स्टेप है, एप्लीकेशन दूसरा स्टेप है, क्वेश्चन तीसरे स्टेप पे आएगा. ये हमारा बेस है. तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग बनानी कहां पे है? फ्रॉम द PYQ specifically of prelims. This is where the PYQs have been coming from. And if the exam has to keep its legitimacy or credibility, they can't deviate from the topic list. If I'm saying that we are going to play a game of cricket, I will play a game of cricket. I cannot switch to football. So I'm preparing you for cricket. Cricket is the game where we'll have the rules for. So what is topic से ही question आएगा. Nature of question I already told you. Understanding based है. वो direct question तो कभी भी नहीं होगा. Now what topics they are going to ask based on our previous year analysis. First topic is understanding the base of any economy, from where the income is coming, what is output, from where jobs are coming. That is everything centered around production of the economy. This is what is called as the topic of national income accounting, where we read about concepts related to GDP, GNP and all. तो जो starting point है economy का वो ये है कि economy करती क्या है. So that is economy is engaged in what activity? The activity number one is the activity of production. 2018-19 में maximum questions came from this topic. Every year they can choose any topic and test its application. If they want to make it easy, ज़्यादा question बना देंगे इस part से, मुश्किल करना होगा तो application को ज़्यादा कर देंगे. That's the first part. I'll give you the dimensions also. The second part is once the economy is produced, in terms of output and income, the economy also has to exchange. When I say exchange, I am talking about the concepts of money and banking. So this is like giving you an introduction to what the economy is. So when I give you introduction to the economy, I explain to you what is output, I explain to you measurement of output, I explain to you growth and development, I explain income generation, we discuss jobs, we discuss all of these concepts related to production. Once we understand this whole concept, we switch to how the economy does its exchange. Form of money क्या है? There is a particular currency in paper form, there is a currency in digital form, there is cryptocurrency, there are so many different concepts. We understand what exactly is the domain of exchange. We understand what is the process of banking. एक normal bank क्या करता है, एक central bank क्या करता है. तो हम base बना रहे हैं कि base में क्या क्या चीजें हो रही हैं. उसकी application, उस application based analysis पे हमारे पेपर है. पर अभी तो हम बेस बनाएंगे. पहला स्टेप क्या है? एंड दिस बेस इटसेल्फ टेक्स रफली 30, 35, 40 classes. So that means 1.5 months is something where you will need the base to be. Then comes public finance कि हमें प्रोडक्शन समझ आ गया, हमें मनी समझ आ गया, अब हमें जानना है हमारी गवर्नमेंट क्या करती है इकोनॉमी में. What is the role of government in the economy? What is the function of tax? What are types of taxes? What exactly is the scenario of deficit? What is debt? How much does the government spend money? All of those concepts related to government finance, which is referred to as public finance and fiscal policy. Then we interact with the rest of the world. When we interact with the rest of the world, there is a concept of trade, there is a concept of finance exchange, there is a concept of currencies, करेंसी डेप्रिशिएट हो रही है, अप्रिशिएट हो रही है, सो मच न्यूज अबाउट करेंसी डेप्रिसिएशन, अप्रिसिएशन, गोल्ड बीइंग सोल्ड, सो मेनी डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स. सो वी अंडरस्टैंड कि ये होता क्या है. एप्लीकेशन तो हम फिर बाद में देखेंगे. Then your international institutions, what does the World Bank do, what does the IMF do, what is WTO, what is the Asian Development Bank, all the basics of how these bodies function. Then there's the application part also. But पहले हम इसका ABCD बनाते हैं कि है क्या. Another concept related to production, कि जब आपने बता दिया कि इनकम कैसे बनती है, आउटपुट कैसे बनती है, तो इनकम आउटपुट में कुछ डिफरेंसेस भी क्रिएट होते हैं. What are those differences? Some people are rich, some are poor. What is poor? Who will be classified as poor? How do we measure poverty? This year there was a question on multidimensional poverty index. So that's nothing but related to your distribution problem. Similarly, there's concept of inequality, there's a concept of unemployment. Related concept to money and production is also whether the economy has price stability or not, a topic of inflation, and financial sector, which is nothing but more than banking. हमारे पास stock market है, bond market है. In 8 dimensions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 7 dimensions is where the base of the economy is. These 7 dimensions roughly will take you 30 to 40 classes, roughly 1.5 months to make sense of this, कि हो क्या रहा है. That's it. अब इससे डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन हम उम्मीद लगा लेते हैं, विच आर द स्किल आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट, कि पीपल समहाउ कम इनटू द परसेप्शन कि यहीं पे पेपर है, इसी से क्वेश्चन आएंगे, इसी के क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करते हैं. व्हाई? बिकॉज 2013 टू 2016 समवेयर 15 में रुक गया था वैसे, क्वेश्चंस इसी के बेसिक ही थे. नाउ अगर क्वेश्चन बेसिक थे तो वो 13 और 16 वाले जो अटेम्प्ट कर रहे थे उनके लिए बेसिक नहीं थे, क्योंकि 12 में पैटर्न चेंज हुआ था, तो उनके लिए ये भी मुश्किल था. तो जब हम 13 में पैटर्न नहीं चेंज कर रहे हैं 13 के बाद से, वी आर इन 26, दैट मीन्स आई विल नॉट स्टिक टू दिस, आई विल डेफिनेटली इवॉल्व माई पेपर. तो दिस इज व्हाई आई सेड टेस्टिंग इज नॉट जस्ट ऑफ द अंडरस्टैंडिंग विच पीपल समहाउ हैव द इंप्रेशन, बिकॉज 13 से 16 अंडरस्टैंडिंग टेस्ट होती थी. अब एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड बहुत ज्यादा टेस्टिंग है, क्योंकि अगर मैंने क्वेश्चंस यहां एग्जॉस्ट कर दिए हैं, मैं सेम क्वेश्चंस आई एम नॉट आस्किंग, सो आई विल नाउ टेस्ट एवरीथिंग बेस्ड ऑन एप्लीकेशन ऑफ दिस अंडरस्टैंडिंग टिल द टाइम आई चेंज द सिलेबस. So till the time again the pattern changes, I am going to make life thing difficult for you. You can't expect 2013, 14, 15 types questions. You will have to move 1-2 steps ahead, because this is where the paper now has become. So this now becomes the first step of understanding the economy. ये हमारा बेस है, या हमारा पेपर जरूरी नहीं है लाया करता है, बट पहली स्टेप पे पैर रखे बिना आप सेकंड स्टेप पे नहीं जा सकते हो. दिस इज व्हाट आई वाज ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन थ्रू द स्किल मैट्रिक्स. These are the topics which I have drawn from the PYQs. Number of videos I have done on PYQs. कि आते नहीं आते वो वहीं से कंफर्म भी कर लेना. I'll show you the dimensions first. Is this clear? Topic list. Now come to the dimensions. Going one step ahead, I have discussed broader topics, told me what to read. Now I need to know how much to read. ये अब टॉपिक की डायसेक्शन हो गई. तो अगर मेरा पहला टॉपिक प्रोडक्शन था, अब प्रोडक्शन में क्या क्या होता है. First, I need to know how exactly money, output, and even income, how do they operate in the economy. Circular flow, what is the role of household, what is the role of firms, what exactly is the role of government, and how these three things interact with the rest of the world. Export क्या होता है, import क्या होता है, savings क्या होती है, investment क्या होती है, production क्या है, factors of production क्या है. तो हम basic समझते हैं कि इकोनॉमी में काम होता कैसे है. Second, when I know how the work is done, I will now try to measure this work which is being done. That means once this is clear how the economy operates, I will measure what the output of the economy is, or what exactly is the income generated in this economy. This is what is the concept of GDP, NDP, GNP, NNP. What exactly is the meaning of national income? What is the meaning of personal income, private income? Different types. That is measurement. तो पहले हम बात करते हैं इकोनॉमी में काम कैसे होता है. सेकंड हम बात करते हैं कि उसको मेजर कैसे करता है. थर्ड थिंग विच वी टॉक अबाउट इज द 3 different methods of estimation, and we go into details that what exactly gets counted and what is not counted. Production method, what exactly is the idea of that method, what is income method, what is expenditure method. We go into much finer details about these concepts. We then talk about, once we know the basics of output production, output measurement, and also the finer details of output measurement through different methods, I now try to see if the output increases, what will happen, whether it is growth, whether it is development. If it is not development, then what exactly is the progress of the society? At the end of the day, economics material well-being ढूंढ रहा है. Material well-being improve हो रहा नहीं हो रहा, this is what is the idea of growth and development. So we switch from understanding to something which will help us analyze and evaluate also. क्योंकि अगर उसका मतलब पता है, you understand the meaning of it, then only you will be able to understand or analyze or evaluate it. Economic systems related to who is taking the decisions, कैपिटलिज्म, फ्यूडलिज्म, सोशलिज्म, कि अगर आउटपुट ये है, ये ग्रोथ है, तो कौन लेगा डिसीजन? दिस इज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिसीजन मेकिंग, वेदर लीव इट टू द मार्केट, कैपिटलिज्म, लीव इट टू द स्टेट, सोशलिज्म, लीव इट टू लीड वन पर्टिकुलर पर्सन हु इज लीडिंग, किंग और द फ्यूडल लॉर्ड. Then a related concept to growth and development, which also forms part of our main syllabus and it's related to production, is what is inclusive growth. How do we make the people participate? तो इसके dimension क्या बनते हैं? इसका meaning क्या है? Why do we talk about this term? What are its determinants, factors, and what is the approach to get inclusive growth? This is from my PYQs. First, I gave you the broader topics. From the broader topics, I gave you the dimensions. Based on our last 10-year experience in this exam, this is where the dimension list is going to be, depending on how the questions get framed. तो हमें पता है कि कैसे वो derive हो रहे हैं questions, subject matter experience की वजह से. This is where the starting point would be. Question जरूरी नहीं है यहाँ से आएगा, question इसकी application से आएगा. पर किसी चीज को we will apply only once we understand it. This is the first component. Similarly, I draw the component for money and banking. PYQs being the first step is this. This is how for every subject you should know what exactly you have to read and how much you have to read. That's it. Solve तो वो होगा नहीं होगा वो बात की बात है, और वो है भी तो इतना कोई relevant की बात नहीं है कि question नया आएगा. In money and banking, what concepts do I need? I need to know what are the forms and types of money, what is fiat currency, commodity money, deposits, digital money, different things. In fact, last 4 years से सबसे ज़्यादा question is type of money पे आए हैं. Last 2026 had 2 questions on types of money. One was discussing the CBDC versus UPI, and the other was on the features of blockchain. Everything is dependent, that is digital currency or cryptocurrency. Then we talk about demand and supply of money. This used to be favorite topic 2018, 19, 20. Role of banks, the idea of money multiplier. How does the bank create more money? What exactly is the money creation or money multiplication function? Central banking, yet another important topic which they keep on consistently asking questions related to RBI. What does the RBI do? What does the RBI functions? What are the regulation functions? What exactly is the authority? So many different concepts related to central banking. You know the base, you apply from that base. I show you application based question from this. Monetary policy, money supply more, money supply less. कब बढ़ानी है, कब कम करनी है, क्यों करनी है, that is framework. How to do it, and once I make a decision, how does that decision gets transmitted? So from again what to read, I get to know how much to read. How much to read once I prepare, I will now have application questions. Third is role of government. The 3 things which I talked about is in the role of government. That will be the first. That is government budget classification. Where does the government spend money? What are different expenditures head? What are the different taxation heads? Second is your taxation. What are different types of taxes? What type of taxes are there in India? Different types of principles on which taxation is based. Then deficits and debt. If my expenditure is more than taxation, I have a deficit problem. What is fiscal deficit? What is primary deficit? इसके 3 question थे पिछले साल. Mains question was on the application that if the particular state has deficit problem, the Niti Aayog State Fiscal Health Index is going to help me solve the problem. You tell me how. So from the most basic of understanding of deficit which was asked in prelims, a very high level application of whether deficit is good or bad and how does the state solve the problem of debt through the Niti Aayog's Fiscal Health Index was asked in mains. So this is where the base is. So if the base is strong, definitely the application and the analysis will be strong. Fourth is rest of the world. what exactly types of questions? This used to be the favorite topic, 21 to 24. Balance of payment questions, you know about current and capital account transactions. Currency dynamics, you know how exchange rates are determined, what happens to their movement, what influences their movement. International institutions, IMF, World Bank, WTO, and what exactly are there. Different types of institutions, direct questions are framed from this, their publications, their indices, different types of dynamics of that. And then comes the trade dynamics, that is trade India has with what countries, trade flows, trade relations with respect to the bilateral relations, with respect to the WTO relations, all of those dynamics. Poverty, inequality, unemployment, just like the question last year. First, you need to know what they mean, because all of the different societies can have different ideas of these three things. अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट इनइक्वालिटी तो सारी सोसाइटी का कॉन्सेप्ट सेम है, पॉवर्टी की डेफिनेशन चेंज हो सकती है हर सोसाइटी की. हाउ डू वी मेजर ऑल ऑफ दीज थ्री कॉन्सेप्ट्स? What are the reasons for poverty in India? What is the impact of poverty, inequality, and employment? And finally, what are the solutions? These two things are mostly main specific, these two things are prelim specific. I have never told you a difference between concept and fact कि ये कुछ separate होता है, ना ही prelims और mains कुछ separate है. इन सब की कहानी same है, step by step चलेगी, where the one step is understanding, second is apply yourself, third is analyze it. तो ये दोनों कॉम्बिनेशन में चलेंगे. There is nothing which is separate for prelims and mains. The step is different, where these two steps are primarily tested in prelims, these two steps are primarily tested in mains. But without these two, you'll never reach here. So the combination of preparation has to happen together. कि अलग अलग कुछ नहीं होगा. Same कहानी फैक्ट और कॉन्सेप्ट की भी है. फैक्ट आपका अगर एप्लीकेशन है, कॉन्सेप्ट आपका अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, ये दोनों इकट्ठे नहीं होंगे तो वो अलग से भी नहीं होगा. This is what is your poverty, inequality, unemployment. Then comes the topic of inflation. Topic of inflation, what is meaning of inflation, types of different inflation, hyperinflation क्या होता है, creeping inflation क्या होता है, shrinkflation क्या है, what are the causes, demand pull, the supply side factors, structural factors, what is the impact of inflation, how do we measure it, and what is its control. These are the 5 dimensions which we draw from the topic of inflation, where we form the base. Financial sector, in the last 5 years, the most asked topic after money and banking. Financial markets, different types of instruments. Financial institutions, banks, NBFCs, mutual funds, different types of alternate investment funds, different types of institutions, regulatory institutions. RBI, role of SEBI. Financial inclusion, how do we bring people into this financial system, whether it is with respect to the steps taken by RBI, steps taken by SEBI. And banking regulations, this is one topic which I could have clubbed with banking also. I think it's more relevant with financial sector, so I've put it here. A lot of questions come from regulation of the banking sector. So this all topics and its dimensions should be clear कि हमें पढ़ना क्या है और पढ़ना कितना है. तो पहली स्टेप हमारी क्या है कि हमने इन 7 टॉपिक्स पे with these dimensions, do I have adequate understanding or not? That's the first step. Second step is where we start now preparing for the exam. तो अभी हमारा बेस क्लियर हुआ है, अब इस बेस को हमें अप्लाई करना है. What is the application stage? All of these bases will be applied in Indian economy. All of these understandings will be applied in global economy. You are never going to get a direct question from your understanding. I'll show you how. कि सीधा मुझसे फिस्कल डेफिसिट का मीनिंग पूछ लिया, वो जरूरी नहीं आएगा. आएगा तो मेरे लिए अच्छा है, पेपर आसान है. अगर वो नहीं आता है, मुझे इसके लिए प्रिपेयर्ड रहना है. So that means my understanding will now be applied in Indian context. My understanding will be applied in your global context. You will not have direct questions of your understanding. A definition कोई पूछेगा. ये सबसे important है. हर question में आपको दिमाग लगाना पड़ेगा. You will have to be well read on a lot of things in order to apply yourself. I'll show you how that happens. There are 2 types of application of concepts which they are going to ask. First type is the concept application, where I know what is fiscal deficit, I know what is interest rate. Can I interlink the two and see how they operate? That means whatever understanding I have formed, whether I can do that by interconnecting the two. That means, do I understand how exactly the term operates? मेरे को मीनिंग फिस्कल डेफिसिट का पता है, मुझे मीनिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट का पता है, बट क्या फिस्कल डेफिसिट और इंटरेस्ट रेट के रिलेशन पे अगर कोई स्टेटमेंट आती है, ये दोनों को कनेक्ट करते हुए क्या वो मैं सॉल्व कर सकता हूं कि नहीं? अगेन एंड अगेन व्हाई आई एम रिपीटिंग, बिकॉज हम अंडरस्टैंडिंग में फिस्कल डेफिसिट और इंटरेस्ट रेट तक सीमित है और इसी से क्वेश्चन उम्मीद लगा रहे हैं. ये 13 से 15 फिर भी होता था, अब पिछले 10 साल से नहीं हो रहा है और ये नहीं होगा. Because I've already asked you the basic things, now I will test your advanced application. So first application is interconnected question, the multi-dimensional nature of the question, where I'll ask you to relate things together. That's first type. The second type, and this is what I can show you this year question. This year question से ही दिखाऊंगा कैसे दोनों चीजें linked हैं. Which one of the following describes the crowding out effect in the context of fiscal policy? Now this is supposedly a very easy question. I can do it. How? It's again relation. अब relation कैसे है? कि I know that the government is borrowing in the economy. Now when the government is borrowing in the economy, that means the government has a fiscal deficit. जब fiscal deficit government का होता है, what is its impact on private investment? एक क्वेश्चन जब हम पढ़ते हैं फिस्कल डेफिसिट, द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट कम्स टू माय माइंड इज दैट फिस्कल डेफिसिट इफ इट इज इंक्रीज्ड व्हाट शुड हैपन. सो आई नो मीनिंग, but how is the impact of fiscal deficit on private investment? That means what happens to interest rate in the market. This is how these two concepts are linked. The link is nothing but crowding out effect. तो मुझे मतलब तो दोनों का पता था, पर ये दोनों लिंक्ड कैसे हैं मुझे अगर नहीं पता तो क्वेश्चन नहीं हो सकता है. If I know what is fiscal deficit, I know interest rate, I know what the link between the two is, I will definitely know that government borrowing raises interest rate which reduces private investment. दोनों को लिंक कर दिया साथ में, वो मैंने आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया. आइडियली तो आपको ये बेसिक्स में पता होना चाहिए, नहीं भी पता इन दोनों को लिंक करके एग्जाम एनवायरमेंट में करना आना चाहिए. फर्स्ट इज माय लर्निंग वाज गुड, आई न्यू दिस कॉन्सेप्ट बिफोर. My learning was not so great, I should be able to apply whatever I have learned and then solve it. आइडियली तो लर्निंग होनी चाहिए, वो नहीं हुई तो चलो दिमाग लगा लेते हैं पेपर में, दिमाग लगा लेते हैं तो फिर वहां से बनाना पड़ेगा लिंक. दिस इज द फर्स्ट टाइप. आई शो यू मोर क्वेश्चंस रिलेटेड टू दिस. Consider the following statements about NBFC in India. I told you financial sector, types of institutions, NBFC type, बैंक, बहुत सारी चीजों पे क्वेश्चंस ऑलरेडी बहुत आते हैं. क्वेश्चन ये पूछ रहा है, NBFC cannot accept demand deposits. All NBFCs operating in India have to be registered with the RBI. NBFCs form part of the payment and settlement system. DCIGC deposit insurance is not available to the depositors of deposit taking NBFC. Sorry. Have you heard about NBFC? How? What exactly did you read about them? ये आपने किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में पढ़ा? अब ये दिस इज व्हाट मैटर्स. व्हाई? व्हेन आई से समथिंग इज नॉन बैंक फाइनेंशियल कंपनी, आई नीड टू नो व्हाट व्हाई दे आर नॉन बैंक. आपने बोला कि एक कंपनी है जो नॉन बैंक है, सो आई शुड नो व्हाट इज नॉन बैंक देयर. नॉन बैंक में इसके 3 फीचर आते हैं. दे विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट डिमांड डिपॉजिट, दे विल नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ पेमेंट सेटलमेंट सिस्टम्स, दे विल नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ डिपॉजिट इंश्योरेंस एजेंसीज. तो ये फैक्ट जो था वो कॉन्सेप्ट से आया है कि मतलब क्या है इस चीज का. अब इसको आप फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चन देख लो कि मुझे एनबीएफसी के फैक्ट पूछ लिए, और आई नो दैट दीज आर द टाइप ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हिच आई शुड अंडरस्टैंड. सो इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ नॉन बैंक, यू वुड गेट द आंसर. सेकंड इज, इफ यू नो व्हाट इज नॉन बैंक, हु इज देन रेगुलेटिंग देम. ये कितने टाइप की कंपनीज होती हैं, ये सब पता है तो 4 स्टेटमेंट सबसे आसान क्वेश्चन है. सो द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन will test your understanding relating concepts, interconnected. तो मुझे बैंक का फंक्शन पता है, क्या मुझे नॉन बैंक का पता है? तो नॉन बैंक में नॉन बैंक क्या है, ये मेरा कॉन्सेप्ट का एप्लीकेशन है. That's the first type of questions. Very basic things. If I know what is meaning of poverty, I should know how poverty is measured, whether it is poverty line or MPI. तो अब MPI ग्लोबल है, एक नीति आयोग का है. क्या है नीति आयोग का और ग्लोबल? What is the methodology? What are the indicators? What are indicators in the two? So again, application of a concept which was my measurement of poverty. This is first and this is the second type of questions. This. When I know a particular concept, I said, can you apply the concept itself, that is operation of it through connections, interconnected. फिस्कल डेफिसिट और इंटरेस्ट रेट बताया, ऐसी मैंने एनबीएफसी बताया। दूसरी चीज है, अगर मुझे कॉन्सेप्ट पता है, कैन आई अप्लाई दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ऑन द फैक्ट्स दैट आर हैपनिंग ऑन इंडियन इकोनॉमी एंड इन ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी? ये दूसरे नेचर ऑफ क्वेश्चन है। What is ideally happening in the last 5 years is this particular concept, the number of questions are less. This particular concept, the number of questions is more. जितने साल ये चीज बड़ी ज्यादा होगी, उतने साल पेपर मुश्किल होगा। जितने साल ये चीज ज्यादा होगी, उतने साल पेपर आसान होगा फॉर इकोनॉमिक्स। लास्ट ईयर इकोनॉमिक्स सेक्शन वाज इजी बिकॉज पेपर वाज मोस्टली हेयर। दिस ईयर इकोनॉमिक्स सेक्शन वाज स्लाइटली मोर ट्रिकी because the paper was here. There was a combination. There were 2-3 questions here, but 10 questions were here. This is why slightly more trickier. So last year cutoff was 93. This year I'm expecting the cutoff will be somewhere around 78, 80, 82. 78, 82 का range ही जाएगा. Now when I say how does it apply in the Indian economy and how does it apply in the global economy, I show you the questions. Now see this question. RBI's financial inclusion index represents 3 sub-indices. What are those indices? Now, how do I solve this question? I know what exactly the RBI does. I know what is the meaning of financial inclusion. Now, what is the meaning of financial inclusion? When you say include the people, what do you mean by include the people? No, form of secure money is, आप कह रहे हो include the people in formal system, right? This is what you're trying to say. What do you mean by include? Now this is what is the definition. तो हमारी definition क्या बोलती है कि लोगों के पास availability होनी चाहिए बैंक की, लोग उसको यूज करना जानते होने चाहिए, and they should also have a choice. ये नहीं कि एक ही है, ये this is my understanding. So if financial inclusion index is created by RBI and the meaning is this, what indices would be there? The indices would be what? Usage, access and quality. So if I know what the meaning is, I can know what the fact is. This is application of a concept in Indian economy. Application of a concept in global economy. MPI भी application था, but वो concept इसलिए बोल रहे हैं क्योंकि measurement था. This is application. More questions were application based. How are they confusing? What is the meaning of affordability? अब यही है, अब ये क्यों कंफ्यूजिंग लगा? क्योंकि कॉन्सेप्ट ही क्लियर नहीं था. अब आप बताओ मुझे, एक्सेस का मीनिंग क्या होता है? कैसे सोच लिया? ये बनाया ना, नॉट रेड इट. अब जस्ट फोकस ऑन एक्सेस. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ एक्सेस? कि फिजिकली एक्सेसिबल है, हम जा पा रहे हैं, पास में है. इकोनॉमिकली एक्सेसिबल है, महंगा नहीं है. सोशली एक्सेसिबल है कि हमें डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं कर रहा है, कि औरत आई है तो अकाउंट नहीं खोलेंगे. डू यू अंडरस्टैंड? तो जो इकोनॉमिक एक्सेस तो ऑटोमेटिकली मेरा टर्म अफोर्डेबिलिटी है, और एक्सेस का मतलब ही नहीं है कोई. एक्चुअली तो फैक्ट का क्वेश्चन है, पता होना चाहिए, न्यूज़पेपर में बहुत बार आता है. नहीं पता है तो दिमाग भी लगाओ तो ये दोनों रिलेटेड हैं. एक्चुअली फैक्ट है तो इसका लॉजिक कोई जैसा मैं आई एम टेलिंग यू थ्रू द मीनिंग, बट ऐसा कोई लॉजिक हर क्वेश्चन में बनेगा नहीं. पता होना चाहिए. इफ यू रीड टू मच यू विल नो दिस, एंड यू हैव टू रीड टू मच. ये सबसे बड़ी बात है यहाँ पे. Which one of the following statements about UPI and the CBDC is not correct? In the concept part, in the understanding part, we will discuss what is UPI and we will discuss what is the different types of currency. Currency in the digital form is CBDC. Question has linked the two. That is application of type of money, type of payment system in the Indian economy. Ideally should be prepared. If it is not prepared, apply logic, solve it here. Solution is not important. From my topic, from my dimension, from what I read, can I solve it or not is what I need to know. ये दोबारा थोड़ी आएगा. मेरे ये चीज स्ट्रांग होगी तो दोबारा ऐसा कुछ आएगा तो मैं सॉल्व कर दूंगा. सेम चीज थोड़ी दोबारा होगी. नॉट ऑल 6 balls in a over will be same. Do I have the skill to tackle whatever new ball is coming? Answer is yes, selection. Answer is no, no selection. अब आप बोल रहे हो फुल टॉस देते जाओ मैं खेल लूंगा, अब वो तो नहीं मिलेगी. You can't choose the nature of the exam. You have to appear according to what exactly is being asked. Which of the following statements about M1 exchange role in MSME financing is correct? M1 exchange provides collateral based loans to MSMEs. M1 exchange facilitates discounting of invoices and bills of exchange for MSMEs. M1 exchange functions as credit rating. And the news and also the financial system had explained to me very well what are TREDs. This is what we do, discounting systems, invoice based. NBFC का भी type है, factoring. Now if I know TREDs, M1 exchange is one type of TRED. तो अगर मुझे इसी का लिंक पता है तो ये क्वेश्चन सबसे आसान है पेपर में. Application of my learned concept in the Indian economy helps me solve the question. Just knowing what is TREDs, just knowing what is factoring without understanding its context will solve nothing. This is M1 exchange and TREDs. Rare earth element and critical mineral. Application of rare earth industrial policy कि कहाँ पे लगेगा, न्यूज में भी बहुत है. Combination of two, application in Indian and global economy both. Application क्या है, चाइना का क्या है, इंडिया का मिशन and rare earth mineral is 13 million. Combination of understanding and application in India and global both. This is what I am trying to derive where I gave the examples. हमने यहीं से start किया था, हमें यही चीज चाहिए. I want to know familiarity, NCERTs पढ़ के start करो. NCERT नहीं पढ़नी है तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग में यू विल गेट डबल द टाइम. वाई? बिकॉज मेरे को वो चीजें रिवाइज भी करनी है बार बार, बिकॉज आई एम नॉट फेमिलियर. सो माई रिविजन ऑफ माई अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज गोइंग टू टेक डबल द एफर्ट इफ आई एम नॉट फेमिलियर. सो व्हेन यू कीप ऑन आस्किंग इज NCERT इंपॉर्टेंट, NCERT जस्ट फेमिलियराइजेज यू विथ थिंग्स. NCERT डज नॉट सॉल्व एनीथिंग. फेमिलियराइजेज मीन्स मुझे पता है कि एक अल्फाबेट A है. A फॉर एप्पल हो सकता है, ये मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. ए से और क्या क्या हो सकता है ये मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. अब ए से मुझे वर्ड लिखना आना चाहिए, ए से मुझे सेंटेंस बनाना आना चाहिए. वर्ड लिखने के बाद वो मेरा एप्लीकेशन है. समहाउ वी बिलीव अंडरस्टैंडिंग ए फॉर एप्पल बार बार याद करके कि हमारा दुनिया ए फॉर एप्पल ही है, ये नहीं होगा. This is where the expectation should have changed, and this is what should have been the strategy also, is this. And I've given you ample examples how exactly is happening. This is why I've kept on repeating, there is no difference between fact and concept, no difference between prelims and mains. The concept provides the context to the fact. Analysis provides only when you have application and understanding. That means without context हमारा कभी भी कुछ नहीं होगा. कोई भी फैक्ट है उसकी कॉन्सेप्चुअल कहानी है, एनालिसिस है तो उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और एप्लीकेशन है. मैं कभी भी एनालिसिस नहीं कर पाऊंगा इफ आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज एंड व्हाई इट इज. इफ आई डोंट नो द कॉन्सेप्ट, फैक्ट विल नेवर मेक सेंस. एवरी फैक्ट हैज अ कंसेप्चुअल स्टोरी. दिस इज व्हाट आई मीन बाय कॉन्टेक्स्ट. दीज थ्री थिंग्स हैव टू बी डन. नाउ हाउ डू यू थिंक दिस कैन बी डन? NCERT से तो मेरी फेमिलियरिटी बढ़ गई, अंडरस्टैंडिंग कैसे होगी? Now understanding could be taken from classes. I've already given you the topic. You can refer to any standard source or standard reference and you can do it on your own. I'm not saying class is only the solution. It's on you. But provided you should know what you have to do. Provided that clarity of concept is coming, because if clarity of concept is absent, the application is absent. तो वो चाहे क्लास से करो, चाहे वो खुद से करो, चाहे कहीं से हेल्प लेके करो, क्लैरिटी आनी चाहिए और ये पता होना चाहिए क्लैरिटी के बाद एप्लीकेशन से क्वेश्चन आता है. दिस इज व्हाट इज द कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्टोरी टू द क्लैरिटी पार्ट. वन मोर इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग हियर, ये कैसे होगा? अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो गया, चलो एप्लीकेशन पार्ट. एनसीईआरटी, क्लास और स्टैंडर्ड रेफरेंसेस. व्हाट इज द एप्लीकेशन पार्ट? ये है सबसे क्रिटिकल पार्ट. Nothing will happen in this exam without newspaper, Hindu and the Indian Express. And I said and, not or, which means both. The difficulty level of the exam will keep on increasing, it will not go down. You have to be prepared for all types of eventualities. You will have to reach here. तो मेरे को 2 से 3 महीने इसमें लगते हैं. 2 से 3 महीने I have to develop the reading capacity. Next 3 to 6 months is my application capacity. 6 to 12 months is my note making capacity. I can't apply if I don't read. मेरी आदत ही नहीं है पढ़ने की, तो अप्लाई कैसे करेंगे? तो पहले 2 महीने तो सिर्फ पढ़ना है. That's it. The first 2-3 months is read English, develop language skills, develop reading comprehension skill. Comprehend के बोल क्या रहा है इंग्लिश में? इंग्लिश क्या बोल रहा है? वो इंग्लिश समझ तब आएगी एप्लीकेशन की जब अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी. तो जब तक अंडरस्टैंडिंग बन रही है, रीडिंग साथ साथ बनती रहे, ताकि जब अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंप्लीट हो जाए, when I will complete the understanding, I will then apply my understanding. This is in line. When this is in line, this becomes easier. If this is not happening, this will never happen. So these two together, more progress here, easier here. Once you know what is relevant and you know if you are understanding both, then you can write. If you don't know what is relevant and whether you understand or not, that means you don't know what it is and you don't know how to use it. Never write it. Only write it when you know how you will be using it in both prelims and mains. So the first month, read NCERTs, familiarize yourself. 2 to 3 months, build the base. While building the base, read the newspaper. Reading the newspaper, suddenly after 3 months will make sense because the understanding was developed. It will make sense, it will be relevant, it will make sense. You will know how to use it. तो नोट मेकिंग तो 6 महीने बाद होगी. 6 महीने तक पढ़ना और समझना है. समझने से पहले पढ़ना है. Understanding will happen only once you read it. Once you understand it, you will be able to write it. This is how the 3 skills have to be built, which is 70% to 80% of your preparation. 80% preparation यही खत्म हो गई है. 10% analysis बहुत आसान है बनाना. Next 10% is writing. इसमें अगर efficiency is more, 80% efficiency is high, 10% efficiency of analysis is high, the last 10% is the smoothest thing you will ever experience. Problem with these people is these two are missing, so writing is a chaos. I can't write. Why? Because recall नहीं आ रहा है. Why recall नहीं आ रहा है? Familiar ही नहीं है word से, बार बार use ही नहीं हुआ है. Fiscal deficit, interest rate, growth, development, so many things are not in your parlance, they will never come to you. Recall आ भी गया तो समझ नहीं आता है. Analyze नहीं किया हुआ है, content missing है. 80% is this, in fact 80% is this, 10% is this. This 90% you have done, writing is the easiest thing to do. जब तक clarity of thought नहीं है, expression of thought is missing, will always miss. So the more clarity, more familiar with the language, with the terminology, know how to use it, you will be able to apply it. You will be able to write it. Application definitely आना चाहिए. This is the most important thing which I think you should do. ये चीज के बिना कभी एग्जाम क्लियर नहीं होगा. मोबाइल फोन की 3 गंदी आदत है जो वो स्किल बिल्डिंग कभी होने ही नहीं देगी. फर्स्ट इज, और ये बताना पड़ रहा है, ये भी मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है. द मोर यू स्क्रॉल, द लेस अटेंशन स्पैन यू हैव. Less attention span you have, you don't have the capacity to read or process information. 2 लाइन के बाद हमारा दिमाग थक गया है क्योंकि 6 सेकंड की रील दोबारा नहीं चली. You will be able to read or process information only when you have particular focus. Without focus you have nothing, and the phone has been built to destroy your focus and build the attention span. It has to destroy this particular where I am only reading 6 to 10 seconds. न्यू इंफॉर्मेशन 6 to 10 seconds, 6 to 10 न्यू इंफॉर्मेशन. मजा कुछ नहीं आ रहा. The only thing which the phone is giving me is a new thing in every 6 seconds. Whereas reading would be about the same thing or building a story. तो अब मुझे यहां पे पेशेंस चाहिए इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोसेस करने के लिए, जहां पे मैं 8 से 10 लाइन तो मिनिमम एक बार में पढ़ सकूं. Then only I will be reading full page articles. Then only I'll be able to read essays. Then only I'll be able to read books. I am only stuck on reading one line. Why? Because the phone was designed such way. नहीं सुना भी. This is I can see in the class in the last 2 years people will listen for 5 minutes and will start scrolling in the phone. Trust me, I know that you have nothing important going in your life. And still you have the habit. Why? Because the attention span is looking for quick result, quick dopamine. मजा नहीं आ रहा, क्या बोल रहे हो, बहुत ज्यादा बोल रहे हो, कब तक पता चलेगा क्या आएगा. Why? Attention span distortion meant quick dopamine. Quick dopamine ने एक और काम प्रॉब्लम बना दी मेरे लिए. जब when my brain is looking for instant result, it is looking for instant result in the exam also. It is looking for instant result in the strategy also. That means again I can't wait for anything to happen later. I want it today. And when you want everything today, you have absolutely no focus. This is why you are too much stimulated and yet you are bored. हर 5 सेकंड में कुछ नया हो रहा है, फिर भी लाइफ में मजा नहीं आ रहा है. This is the exact shortcut the brain has developed. Number of stories. हिंदू ही पढ़ लो 6 महीने में, वही आपको 50 बार ये बात बता देगा कि टेंशन स्पैन कम हो गया, पेशेंस लेस है, डोपामिन रिलीज जल्दी चाहिए, तो अब हम पढ़ने की हिम्मत ही नहीं है. I don't want to listen, I don't want to read. I can't consume long form content because everything has been distorted. And finally, when I'm not learning anything and I'm wasting a lot of time, that means I am not moving one step ahead. आप सेम जगह पे स्टेप रख रहे हो और आगे नहीं चल रहे हो. That means I feel I'm moving, but still it's not one step ahead. That means I will constantly have anxiety because other people will get something or I'll believe they are getting, but हम सेम जगह पे ही खड़े हैं. जहां स्टार्ट किया था वहीं खड़े हो, लग रहा है मूव कर रहे हो, कहीं भी मूव नहीं कर रहे हो, which will bring in a lot of anxiety. Now what this anxiety does? Now see the anxiety trap, and this is very common in this exam. I have set a goal for myself. The phone is not letting me reach that goal, so I will have high anxiety. I will have high anxiety. I will not be able to read. I will not be able to read. I'll go to the phone. अब ये तीनों जगह पे हम फंस गए. I will only read when I will get a result. I am nowhere longer to the result, so I am breeding anxiety. ये बार बार स्टेज रिपीट होती रहेगी. बेड से उठने का मन नहीं कर रहा है, इसलिए क्योंकि रिजल्ट नहीं दिख रहा है. तो बेड में पड़े पड़े फिर यही होता जा रहा है, क्योंकि ये वाली साइकिल तक हम पहुंच नहीं पा रहे. तो बार बार फोन एंजाइटी, फोन एंजाइटी, फोन एंजाइटी. यू विल रीच अ पॉइंट वेयर विल बी सो मच पैरालाइज्ड विद anxiety that you will absolutely stop reading. That means I am in a particular pit और मैं उसको नीचे खोद रहा हूं. वो ये रेपिटेशन होता रहेगा, फिर पढ़ने का मन नहीं करेगा क्योंकि पढ़ के रिजल्ट नहीं दिख रहा है. तो अब रिजल्ट की उम्मीद तो है बट पढ़ाई नहीं हो रही क्योंकि यहीं पे फंस गए हैं. This is what is the first step, distortion of attention span. Second is reinforcement of that because your brain gets benefit out of it, quick dopamine, and then you get the anxiety problem. ये 1 2 3 linked है, ऐसे ही होता है. Last 5 years of reading, I've been reading Hindu in the last 15 years. ये पिछले 2 साल से ये चीज समझ आई है मुझे. And I can actually see it in the class. I will keep on telling. I tell this number of times in the class. Nobody listens. फिर वो इस साइकिल में फंसते हैं 1 साल बाद, फिर कहते हैं कि हमारे से कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, तो कुछ होगा ही नहीं. हाउ यू कैन मूव अवे? रीड, थिंक, ट्रेन योर माइंड फॉर फोकस एंड डिसिप्लिन, बिल्ड गुड हैबिट्स. ओनली लॉन्ग फॉर्म कंटेंट रीडिंग कैन सेव यू. आई एम नॉट जस्ट सेइंग सेव यू फॉर द एग्जाम. I'm telling you, save you in life. एग्जाम तो एक बहुत छोटी चीज है. Yes, at this point you will feel it's the biggest thing in your life, but trust me, once you clear the exam, you still have 40 years to do the service. तो एग्जाम क्लियर करने से ये नहीं है कि लाइफ खत्म हो गई है, वो लाइफ स्टार्ट हो रही है, चैलेंजिंग लाइफ आ रही है. So it's not just building for the exam, it's building for life. Anything that can save you is to expose yourself to long form information, and that is only happening from the newspaper. होगा क्या, ये क्विक डोपामीन से बार बार ढूंढोगे कि एक क्विक फिक्स शॉर्टकट दे दो, और शॉर्टकट में पहले देखोगे कोई न्यूज की वीडियो, सेकंड यू विल वॉच शॉर्ट्स, एंड देन यू विल डिमांड शॉर्ट नोट्स. ये तीनों पहले दिन से फेलियर हैं. This is why I spent a lot of time in telling you the exam demands skill, the exam demands habit, because you are working or you are fighting for a very exclusive position. 10 लाख बच्चों के लिए, 10 लाख की पॉपुलेशन के ऊपर जब एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर है, तो वो एक लीडरशिप, एक इन्फ्लुएंशियल पोजीशन है. जाके स्कूल के बच्चे, कॉलेज के बच्चे पूछेंगे आपसे कि आपकी पर्सनालिटी में क्या था कि आप यहां बन गए. तो आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो कि मैं इंस्टाग्राम रील्स देखता हूं जैसे आप देखते हो. डिफरेंस ये है कि अब मेरे पास नौकरी है तो मैं रील बनाता भी हूं. दिस इज वेस्ट ऑफ लाइफ. दिस विल बिल्ड यू समथिंग, नॉट जस्ट द एग्जाम, अदरवाइज इट विल प्रिपेयर यू फॉर लाइफ. Definitely build a lot of depth in your character, which is actually required both in strategy and also in life. ये बनाएगा असली पर्सनालिटी. जो डर लगता है ना लोगों को, क्या आ जाएगा पेपर में, क्या पूछ लेंगे इंटरव्यू में, जो लोग यहाँ हैं वो डरते नहीं है. Only one example which I've been using consistently, difference between 10 players in a cricket team and Virat Kohli is this. वो यहां पे है इसलिए वो कंसिस्टेंटली परफॉर्म नहीं कर सकते हैं. वो बंदा यहां पे है, तो कोई भी एग्जाम एनवायरमेंट दो, कोई भी एग्जाम किसी भी कंट्री में खिलाओ, वो हमेशा परफॉर्म करेगा. गुड, दिस इज नॉट इवन गुड नाउ, दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू अचीव, दिस इज व्हाट विल मेक यू गुड टू ग्रेट. दिस विल ऑलवेज मेक यू फ्रॉम गुड टू बैड, एंड आई एम अज्यूमिंग यू आर गुड. ये 4 स्टेप पीछे ले जाएगा, ये 4 स्टेप आगे ले जाएगा. पेपर ना भी क्लियर हो, इतनी पर्सनालिटी कैरेक्टर में डेप्थ आएगा दैट यू विल हैव, इनफैक्ट यू विल एंजॉय योर लाइफ. पीपल विल स्टिल सी यू विद रिस्पेक्ट, व्हिच इज एक्चुअली a lot of people are looking for. This is, गधा भी इससे ज्यादा इंटेलिजेंट है. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से. बिल्ड योर स्किल्स ऑन दिस एंड नॉट हियर. फोकस, डिसिप्लिन, एवरीथिंग, बस ये सारा यहीं से आएगा. Next is the analysis and evaluation scale. 80% is understanding and application, again after being familiar with the concept. Next is analysis and evaluation, where we'll now come to the mains part. I recently did a video also on this topics and dimensions, so I'll just run you through what the topics are. The mains topic is 2 types of questions. I already know what is happening, where I understand the concept, and I've also seen the application of the concept. The next good question would be, why is it happening like this, and what else or what should have happened. ये मतलब है इन दोनों चीजों का, evaluation and analysis. Find the reason and logic behind every particular event, and when I say find reason or logic, you are not a trained economist, you are not a trained sociologist, you don't have a degree in geography to find out these reasons and place them in models. You will always have to learn from experts. This is where my content collection for most of the analysis has to happen from the newspaper and will have to happen from the economic survey. The only static part of analysis is that can I make sense of the past, कि हम यहां तक कैसे पहुंचे. So my class or reading material will tell you how did we reach this point. What is happening today, you will have to cover from the newspaper. So the newspaper will help you cover this analysis. Newspaper was also helping in application. Application मेरी regular news है, analysis और content मेरा editorial है. This is the editorial pages. The editorial pages are critical for mains. The rest of the news is important for prelims. You can't differentiate between the two. This is why you have to read it in entirety. Application is analyzed. Where is it analyzed? The 2 editorial pages. Similarly, what is your opinion on it? What is your judgment on it? What is your perspective towards it? What is right and what is not? Can I critically analyze them? Can I suggest solutions? This is again the newspaper and the editorial pages. If something is happening, I know why is it happening. What else can happen? What is the right or what is wrong? How can I make it better? Is the government doing anything to make it better? This is the evaluation front. All of the mains questions are analysis and evaluation. Analysis still has some static content. Evaluation is mostly the dynamic content, that is current affairs. Again, no differentiation between current affairs and static portion. No differentiation between fact and concept. No differentiation between prelims and mains. These are steps. The skill is linked. This is the last skill which is easier to develop, provided the 80% skill you have already developed, which I just talked about. Once I know what skills I have to develop, I need to know on what topics. Now the thing about these topics is very easy. The syllabus in mains is quite detailed, which will tell me what exactly the topics they're going to ask. And nowhere in the last 15 years have they moved away from these topics. That means the syllabus is my guide. I don't need the PYQs to derive the topics. PYQ will help me derive the dimensions of these topics. That means what exactly is the nature of question? How much do I have to read? Growth, planning, resource mobilization, growth, development, employment is the first topic in syllabus. Inclusive growth, second topic. Government budgeting, third. Agriculture is divided into two sections. Why I have decided and divided in two sections? Because the paper also does it, but somehow we prepare only this section. Maximum questions come from here. Cropping pattern, irrigation, supply chain management and technology. In चारों से सबसे ज़्यादा question आता है. But somehow our preparation is on subsidies, MSP, PDS and food security. So I differentiated so that you understand relevancy is here more, it's here less. Food processing, land reforms, one question, alternate years. Liberalization, industrial policy, again one question. Infrastructure investment models, one question. Primarily important topics are the first three and these two. How do I know? Last 15 years you pick up the questions. You will find the relevance coming from these 5 topics. Similar to this, what are the types of questions? That is the theme analysis. The same thing which I repeated for prelims is something which has to be done for mains also. Again, PYQ analysis is the first step, it is not the last step. Trade globalization, GDP measurement, employment, labor, same thing, women care related topics hain sare. Inclusive growth. See, this dimension list is coming all from the previous year questions itself. I've just segregated them here. Once you do all of this segregation through the dimension list, I'll share the PPT also. The similar step you have to repeat here. This is the next step. Now, 3 steps I've divided your preparation in. The first step is the step where I have to get familiar. The second step is what I have to develop this is the first step itself. Familiar plus understanding. Because most of the people don't want to read NCERT, they just want to do the understanding part itself. So revision mein time double lag jayega. This is what I have clarified. Familiarize karoge, revision mein time kam lagega. The second step is I need to apply myself and I need to analyze and evaluate it. This is the newspaper reading step. Newspaper. This is my, whether I have a class or I have a standard source. Reference material or I'm attending a class. First, second, this is the most important step, that is the testing stage. So once I have done this 2 to 3 months, this is going to take 1 year because this will keep on happening in a particular year till the time you appear for prelims or mains. These 2 steps are done, then I need to test myself whether I know things or not. तो पहली टेस्टिंग क्या होगी? पहली टेस्टिंग होगी पहली स्टेज की. How much do I understand? Confirm these concepts and see whether you understand their interconnection or not. Crowding out type के questions गलत नहीं होने चाहिए. Fiscal deficit, interest rate and interconnection between the two which I explained is the first type of questions, is the first understanding test. This is sectional test of the basics where MCQs will help me know whether I understand or not. Second level of testing is advanced test, where I will check whether I can apply it in Indian economy and global economy or not. ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये तो मेरा वार्म अप है, सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट यही है, बिकॉज क्वेश्चन सारे यहीं से आएंगे. Once I know this, I also learn from the test. So I collect a lot of facts from the test, which is both based on understanding and is based on application. So the test is not a test only of what I know, test is also helping me improve my knowledge. So whenever a cricketer is practicing in the nets, he already knows how to hit a cover drive. What if the bowler bowls a new ball? वो न्यू बॉल की भी यहां पे हमारे को इंफॉर्मेशन मिल रही है. दिस इज व्हाट आई एक्सप्लेन्ड इवन बिफोर द प्रीलिम्स. नेवर जज अ पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन और अ पर्टिकुलर टेस्ट. इट विल ईदर एक्सपोज यू और इट विल हेल्प यू लर्न बेटर. दो चीज करता है टेस्ट, या तो यहां पे आपको एक्सपोज करेगा या आपको नई चीज सिखा के जाएगा. तो मैं कभी ये नहीं बोलूं कि क्वेश्चन खराब है, पेपर खराब है. Sometimes paper will not do this, sometimes paper will do this. So it's good that the paper is doing both the things to me before the exam, so that before the exam my preparation is improving. So the first, it is exposing, testing you. Second, it is giving you new things. Always try to learn on both fronts. Never take the test as a judgment of your performance. Always take test as a learning exercise. Can I fill some gaps? Can I learn new things? Same thing applies to writing. When I write, I come to know what type of things I am going wrong at. 3 things I will go wrong at. First, can I structure the answer? Can I present it better? Second is, do I have enough content or not? Is it in one flow? Is it appealing? Do I have enough content? These are the only 3 things which you need to practice on. If you have enough content, structure, presentation is the only dimension. If you know structure and presentation, you don't have enough content, fill your content gap. So MCQs will do understanding, application and give you facts. Writing answers will help you plug these 3 problems. Problem of flow, structure the answer. Problem of presentation, can I make it write better? Short paragraphs, headlines, examples, number of different things with respect to presentation. Line diagram बना सकते हैं, bullet लिखने हैं, छोटी lines लिखनी है, underline करना है. Or I have a content problem. I know how to beautify my answer. I know how to write it in a flow, but I don't have enough content. तो या तो इस parallel पे line number नहीं है या इस number नहीं है. This is again writing से पहले 90% I told you the preparation is done. ये तो लास्ट है, सबसे आसान चीज है. समझ आता तो लिख भी लोगे, समझ नहीं आता तो लिख भी नहीं सकते. In writing, 2 skills: structure, presentation and content. Content clarity is there, more information helps you present it. Content clarity is missing, कितना भी इकट्ठा कर लो कोई फायदा ही नहीं. No clarity of thought, no matter how many PDFs you collect, you're not going to write anything. Why? Because the question is new and it is asking you to think and write. थिंक एंड राइट तभी हो सकता है जब थिंकिंग वाला पार्ट आता हो. थिंकिंग वाला पार्ट तब आएगा जब फोन में पीडीएफ सेव करने से बेटर न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ा होगा. इट्स वेरी सिंपल. अगेन आई रिपीट इट सो मेनी टाइम्स. इट इज एज सिंपल एज गोइंग टू द जिम. बॉडी उनकी बनती है जो रोज जाता है. फोन में वीडियो देखने से, स्टेरॉइड लगने से कुछ नहीं होता है. द ओनली डिफिकल्ट पार्ट इज गोइंग डेली. द ओनली डिफिकल्ट पार्ट इज डूइंग दिस एक्सरसाइज ऑन अ डेली बेसिस. Technicality of the exam is completely zero. Nothing technical. No models, no maths, no stats. It's just doing the same thing over and over. On what? This is what we have discussed in detail. This is what from scattered reading to exam ready knowledge base. AI ये help करता है ऐसी सुंदर सुंदर PPT बनाने में. इसे बस content लिख के दे दो, ये ऐसे beautify कर देता है चीजें. Modular concept building is my understanding part. PYQ map notes is based on that only I am preparing anything. Daily test, check whether you can apply yourself or not. Mains answer, check whether you can structure it or not. Full length test cycle is exam ready. This is what does your foundation do. Minimum time period 12 months, maximum time period 24 months. Minimum time period for economics 3 months, maximum time period 5 months. Newspaper reading entirety. This is how the strategy has to be. I hope I was able to make some sense. I'll give you this PPT also. In case you still have doubts, you can reach out here. Thank you.